All right, analysis time. Welcome to the Simon Racing Report. Another video of these. In high demand. It's popular. It's the very late in the evening here. I'm cozy. I've got a cup of tea next to me. Glass of water. I feel very good. I feel hydrated. And Jamie Fluke joins me, the cozy man from Apex Racing UK. And again, Jamie, you just love doing these videos, don't you?
I do, yeah. It's good to be back chatting with you about a World Championship race. I also have a nice glass of water here on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah, I'm happy. Let's get going.
Let's do it. So first guy I've got on my screen right now is, and let's do something different for a change. We start with Balázs Remenyik from Race Clutch. Race Clutch new to the World Championship. So he has a crash here at Eau Rouge. And the three things I found in this car were you crash at Eau Rouge if you get the line wrong, or if the setup is horrendous, or if you've got a fat load of fuel on board, or if the tires are quite worn out. With me and Remenyik, I feel like one of these new teams, it could be the setup, right?
Yeah, I think on this one it must be the setup. Car really shouldn't be doing that in the first lap because of tires. It is possible late in a run to struggle up there, but literal first lap must be a setup issue where I'd say the car is probably bottoming out over the top of the curb there, and then the back end will sort of squat, pop up, and you lose traction from there. And I think he's a decent go at saving it, but yeah, doesn't quite get there. So fortunately into the wall for him off the start.
Yeah, he tries to save it, but he's in no man's land. I mean, he's going 300 kilometers an hour. Are you an advocate for touching the right-hand side curb going up Eau Rouge at all? Like even by a slight millimeter or two? Because I wasn't really a fan of that when I was testing.
Depends on the car. In the F1 car, yeah, not so much. You can get away with it a little bit if your car is, not like super glued to the ground and like scraping everything in sight, so you can possibly get away with it that way. But yeah, no, I wouldn't really recommend it.
No. So the next incident after this was between Kevin Ellis Jr. and Davy Decorps. So I'm on the Kemmel straight here. So this is Kevin probably outbraking himself, and this caused a bit of a chain reaction. This was Formula 1 2009. You know, when they had the crash here at the start of the race, and you can see the rest of the chaos ensuing behind. I think Davy did a great job here with, great awareness. He knew Kevin made a mistake. The spotter always helps as well, but I was really impressed with how Davy actually left the space. He left room on the racing line, and Kevin obviously just too hot. Didn't have enough time or room to really clear his error.
Yeah. I actually think Davy's broke quite early here, which is understandable on the first lap, but he has a lot of space in front of him to, brake into. Like, he could probably brake at a normal braking point. I think from speaking to Kev got caught out with how early Davy broke. Kev ended up having to brake pretty much where he expected to, and still pretty much almost made the corner whilst having to throw the car to the inside. Yes, he does understeer, run wide. It is on Kev at the end of the day, but it probably looks worse on Kev. It looks like he's really missed his braking point, which he hasn't really. So I spent a little bit of time looking at this earlier, and probably brakes maybe, well, I'd say no more than 5 meters later than you should there. So it's not a massive mistake on Kev's part, but it's probably made to look a lot worse with how early Davy broke, and then obviously what happened after.
I know you're Kevin's teammate, but I still think, I don't know, it's hard for Kevin to even, if he had to face the steward's room, it's hard to sort of use that as an excuse. And I think it's always worse when you're the driver behind as well. Because I looked from Kevin's perspective from the cockpit cam, and here's what I think. You can't treat this braking zone like you would if it was lap 7 of the race. You have to treat this like it's lap 1. So you might just have to brake a little earlier than you think. But, I mean, that's my opinion on it. You can go a lot of ways here. But
oh, no, that's fine. For me, at least, Kev definitely did make a mistake, and there's nothing that Davy's done wrong here. He, rightly so, he's conservative into, a troublesome braking zone where, a lot of incidents do happen. Kev is at fault here. That I'm not getting around that, but I'd say I'm just saying that it looks worse on Kev's part than what it actually was.
And Yabaz has nowhere to go. I'm looking at him and just so unlucky here. I told you, this is like F1 2009. I think it was like Lewis Hamilton, Grosjean, Alonso. I don't know who was involved, but there was...
I think Button was involved as well.
Yeah, Button
Remember
involved, which was crucial when he's going for the championship, so that was a big one. So if I go to Ricardo Orozco now, so same incident. This is interesting. Now, I don't know if you noticed this, but I swear he gets a slowdown from this, so I want you to confirm it. He avoids the incident, just avoids Partington, and takes to the grass at Les Combes.
Yeah.
So now, if you watch him all the way down to No Name, he lets Oomishima pass, and to me, it's like, is he still dealing with a slowdown up to that point?
I'd say so, yeah. Considering how much he then backs off even after Oomishima gets by him, definitely a slowdown as far as I can tell. It's lap 1, slowdowns are absolutely brutal. I feel like I hate seeing Orozco getting punished for that, because he's taken the exact correct action you should in that position,
Exactly.
and he's
doing the right thing.
He's get punished for it, so yeah. That's a shame for him, but at least he stayed out of trouble, because that was an absolute manic series of corners there for a lot of people.
And if you look at Kazuki passing him, Kazuki actually, I mean, it's pretty good reactions from Oomishima here. So if I watch him go through No Name, Orozco slows down. Oomishima like just jinks out at the last second. He was pretty aware, his adrenaline's high, heartbeat's high, so I like that from Oomishima. So on that note, Ricardo's taken this long to get rid of the slowdown. What is the best way to get rid of a slowdown in iRacing to you?
Pull off the racing line, jump on the brakes, wait till it gets to within 0.4, 0.5 clear, or it depends how long the straight is. You should be able to judge it yourself, and then back to full throttle. I see a lot of people try and coast around at 50, 60% speed to try and get it cleared. Doesn't work, or at least as far as I can tell, it doesn't work anywhere near as effectively as jumping off the line and then just hammering on the brakes, get pretty much come to a stop if you need to, and then take off again. Because whenever you go through a corner, or even a series of corners especially, the timer will go up rather than down, which makes no sense to me. So yeah, if you're on a straight, you just got to get it cleared before the end of the straight that you're currently on, otherwise you lose way too much time.
Do you remember we discussed in the other podcast we did about Mitchell DeJong at Monza?
Yeah.
And he had the same issue where he just, oh God. And that was even worse than Orozco's, obviously. Orozco lost a position basically for doing the right thing. But I think DeJong was more, I mean, he could have lost, let's say, 3-4 positions. It turned out he lost, 10 in the end? 12? I don't know how.
Oh, no, he went to the back of the field because he had to take a stop and hold penalty he never got it cleared.
It was that bad for Mitchell DeJong. So now, next thing, I want to watch Oomishima start. So he gained 7 positions by the end of the first lap. To me, I just want to know where this happened. So I'm playing. Do you want to play the start at the same time, actually?
Yeah, sure.
Let me just get it going. Lap. Oh my God, I went all the way back to warm up by accident. All right, 3, 2, 1, play.
Okay, so he gets a decent launch. Just 2 Apex cars ahead. So he's already gained 1 position because Mitchell hasn't took the start.
Yeah, that's true.
Checks up on the inside, so he gets ahead of both Pete and Antoine, so there's positions 2 and 3. So he's already up to P17 and hasn't had to do really much of anything, so he's off to a winner.
Oh,
then we come up to
the run.
Yeah, he gets a very good run. It helps though whenever you don't have as much dirty earth. The dirty earth through Eau Rouge and Radion is actually quite bad if you're really tucked up behind someone. So into the calm again. This is where it all kicks off. So you got Kevin, Yao, and Davy. So there's 4, 5, and 6.
There'll be one more position.
Steve Michaels as well. But Steve Michaels was 7. I think he gets number 8 here. I think it was 8 positions in total.
Okay, I might have got that number wrong. Maybe I can't count, but I know
maybe that wasn't counting Mitchell.
Well, yeah, actually, that's true. Yeah, maybe I didn't count Mitchell. So he gets past Orozco, and that's it. I think this is it for the rest of the lap. But that was pretty rapid start from him. The next guy I wanted to watch, very well analyzed, Jamie. Can I say? Well, congrats to you. 10 out of 10. The next one I want to go to is where's Pash? Oh, he's finished 7th. Pashalis Gergis. So We don't have
That's
to
a
watch
good result for Pash.
Very good result. And he's the king of Spa, isn't he? The midfield king of Spa, if that is such a thing. Watch him at turn 1. We don't have to watch this at the same time. I just want to know if this is legal to you.
Oh no, this is so illegal as far as I'm concerned. You should not get away with this under any circumstances, lap 1 or not. But
Yeah.
I don't think he's been protested for it. So you know what? If you can get away with it, fair game.
I'm going to watch this from the cockpit cam. But here's where I can defend Pash on this. If I watch from the cockpit cam, now unfortunately I've got that freaking, when the steering wheel's moving, so that's going to affect the vision. But to me, when he steers right, for some reason, Partington there's a big fat rear wing in his face. So you watch him quickly unwind the steering wheel right here. I'm just pausing it. And then that's when he starts turning in again straight after. So he unwinds the steering wheel. He thinks Partington's like slowing down for a crash. So I think Gergis actually here is a good way to if I'm in the steward's room trying to appeal, unprotest. What's the word? Because he's not really protested, but to sort of defend himself.
Well, appeal the protest, I suppose.
Yeah. Is that, he thought he was avoiding an incident because you can't see much in sim racing. Remember, visibility is clear. I'm on one screen right now, and right now all I can basically see on my screen is his glove and his big Greek hand. So, to me, it's like, I think he was just trying to avoid an incident. That's the way I'm thinking about it. And you know what? He might have not been, but he might be now because I just came up with the best fake excuse if he wasn't for that. So he might just say that after the video is released.
Yeah, I've just watched it there back in real speed with the cockpit cam, and I guess I can see your point, but Partington doesn't stay on track either, so he could probably just go to his inside if he slows enough for the first corner. And that's me trying to like pin it back on Pash where possible here.
Yeah.
But it's not a big deal. It's not a big issue. If Partington feels aggrieved by it, then he could protest it if he really wants, but I don't think he did, so I guess it's a non-issue at the end of the day.
Well, let's go back to our famous 2009 Formula One race here. Why do I have such a good memory of F1, man? I should... Anyway, I think Kimi Räikkönen did this at the start. And
didn't he gain like 4 positions off of it? He
yeah,
started like P6 and he was like P2 coming like out of La Source,
and
then
won the race.
he beat Fisichella up the hill, and then he was like leading like, oh no, sorry, it was after the restart or something like that. He then got Fisichella coming up the hill, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, and I remember
that was a good race.
Fisichella should have won that race had it not been for Raikkonen's KERS, which was, I think, McLaren and Ferrari were the only 2 teams to run KERS at the time. It wasn't mandatory. So it did obviously weigh the car a lot more. But anyway, that was, I remember the next year, it was a big talking point and how the stewards said they were going to crack down on it. Gergis gets away with it. But then again, I reckon he was potentially trying to avoid an incident. So here's a big topic, and this is not something we're really going to analyze right now, but it's Mitchell DeJong. I just double-clicked his name, and this is how sad it is. It's showing a blank picture of, I think this is Lecom. So he's definitely not connected. So apparently I spoke to Mitchell, and he reckons, looking at the traces, that he was DDoSed. So
Really?
Yeah. So
if so, that is awful.
That is, and this is something I want to talk to you about because, and let's talk about the story first, and then we'll talk about the topic of DDoSing. Basically, in qualifying, he said he was DDoS, so I think he only set 1 qualifying time.
Correct,
and
yeah.
He said he hardly ever has connection issues, so he obviously hotspotted through his phone to race and managed to somehow connect to qualifying. I don't know how he did that. Anyway, then went to the race, and he says he'll normally join the grid, let's say with about 20 seconds to go around that mark. And as soon as he went to click it, just before the start of the race, he obviously lost connection. So if I watch him during warm-up, he's lapping in warm-up. He sets, in practice, 2 time laps, 1:47. So he's fine. And then he's DDoSed. To me, DDoSing, and whether you agree with this or not, let me know, it's the second most cowardly, disgraceful thing someone can do in sim racing behind actually using hacks and cheating.
Yeah, it's pretty poor. I don't actually know of any specific instances where someone has definitely been DDoSed, at least in my time sim racing. Whenever I did F1 Cody's 5 years ago, whatever, yeah, there was some chat about it, but it's never affected me, so I've never really paid too much attention to it. But if this is the case, then that's absolutely disgraceful, really. I don't know who's done it. I wouldn't have a clue who would be responsible for anything like this. Like, Mitchell's one of the nicest guys in sim racing, but a fella who wouldn't hurt a fly, so I don't know why anyone would pick on him specifically. I can understand if someone was like picking on someone who's like a terrible driver and might have hacked once or twice, whatever. It's like, nah, we'll get our own back in this guy, but Mitchell hasn't really wronged anyone as far as I can tell, so I don't understand why anyone would, pick on him in this way.
I forgot that. Who's that guy who hacks? He's still in iRacing or something. He's been banned like 7 times under 7 fake names.
Just to keep my own reputation safe, I will not name that person, but I know exactly who you're talking about. Oh yeah, I know.
I forgot their name. Oh God. Okay, we were.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Okay, good. For some reason, I'm forgetting their name. They used to be like They used to be the number one person I would joke about. It was like half my material on my podcast like a few years ago. Anyway.
It's half of a lot of people's material. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so I'm sadly looking at the empty grid slot now, which, can I bring the pen tool back? I haven't used it yet. Is right here of Mitchell DeJong. I just wanted to do that and circle it. So that's happened there. A story I have for you, actually, with DDoSing is there was the FSR title in 2014 between Morgan Moran and Bono Haas. And Morgan Moran, in my opinion, I mean, he should have won that title. He basically, choked that title. It was as bad as Lewis Hamilton's 2007 finish to that season. It was the China sort of team blunder, and then it was the unluckiness of Brazil. And that's what happened to Morgan. And I remember going into the championship round, Morgan was being DDoSed at least 4 or 5 times ahead of the race. And they were trying to get in his head. And then eventually he went to the race and he made a pit stop error. I think he even had a drive-through penalty, possibly. And it was just things like that. So I've definitely seen DDoSing before. I know it takes, I've never done it before, but I know it can take as quick as like 10, 15 seconds of someone just speaking to you and then getting your IP and doing it. So it's a pretty quick process, it's just sad. For me, it's just one of the most disgraceful things I've ever heard. And I was pissed off when Mitchell told me. I said, that's just bullshit. You can't be doing that crap in a World Championship sim racing event. To me, I don't know. It's absolute crap.
Now that you've told me that influences what I think of the last lap when we get round to that. Of what I think about that.
Okay, I think I know what you're saying here. We'll get to that later. Now, finally, we're off the first lap. Let's go to your teammate, Peter Berryman. Can I say, while we watched Peter's crash, did you guys just not have a good setup for this track? You guys really struggled out here for Apex.
I feel like we didn't have a good setup. The other guys thought that they were going alright, and I sort of like, no, I don't think we're in good shape here for this, lads, to be brutally honest. And then I got into an open practice with, I think it was Josh and Pash and a couple of others, and like we were not on pace in qualifying. Even with like a really good lap, I was like, yeah, no, we're in trouble here, guys. So, and then in race trim, I think we were even worse. The rest of them didn't really get a chance to truly show that with how they all started, but yeah, no, we didn't have it spot on. We think we know where we went wrong. Hopefully it's something that can translate into Coda. We're not entirely sure, but yeah, just a bad day at the office for us.
And can I also say, by the way, your microphone's got that like, you know when it goes, I don't know if that's going to pop up when I actually publish this video, but you know when the phones back like 20 years ago, have the
Guys been telling me this in Discord for like last couple of months. I'm like, I don't know what it is. My phone's not going off. There's nothing happening here. I'm really, really sorry about it.
Man, Jamie.
I just don't know.
Jamie Fluke, Marty McFly over here is, sim racing analysis video featuring Jamie Fluke and Back to the Future.
I'm going back in time to stop Mitchell getting DDoSed. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but
I got this covered.
Possibly. I was going to ask you a good question, and with that banter, I forgot. So let's just watch Peter Berryman's crash. He goes up on Eau Rouge. Tires are 5 laps old. To me, this is enough to unsettle the car at this point. And there's a lot of crashes like this. But what does he do wrong? I don't know what he does wrong.
He takes the line in such a way that the car's not able to handle it, which, I mean, it's a perfectly logical line, but I don't think our setup was particularly good. I think you can see him like bottom out slightly up at the top of the hill over the curb, just a little bit, not much, but it's enough to unsettle the car. Car goes into a slide. He does actually initially hold it, like he brings it back, but like when he gets his wheel to come back to the left again, it then snaps it again, and with the tires overheated, at that point you're a complete passenger. And yeah, pretty much the exact same crash as Remenyik on that one.
And the dirty air doesn't help, right? Through Eau Rouge, you said it was pretty bad because all my testing was pretty much on my own, so I never got to test the dirty air or slipstream or anything.
Something that I've actually noticed with Peter is that he's held it in 8th gear. Every time in race trim, I dropped it into 7th, just as a way to almost use a little bit of engine braking to help the car sort of hook in a bit. And I found that worked reasonably well for me in traffic, so maybe that could have helped Pete if he went that way. But once you get up to the top of the hill, and his line's still perfectly fine as far as you can see. Yeah, it catches the curve just a little bit, but that really shouldn't be an issue. So I think we had an issue with the setup, and yeah, that shouldn't be. That's not really driver error there as such. The car's just got away from him completely.
Yeah, and that's what I noticed is, I mean, I know he's on heavy fuel here for the race, but he'd still get away with that on fresh tires. To me as well, his tires are 5 laps old. I mean, you just can't save this. And look at how he's stabbing at the throttle before he hits the bump. He's like in 8th gear. He knows the car's already stepping away, and there's no grip, and there's dirty air. And he starts stabbing at the throttle about 2 times or 3 times, and then he just knows that the car's not going to get there. But I don't know. In the end, I'm just look at the way he rejoined the track as well. He bounced off like it was, are we racing here or ping pong? I don't know what's going on.
Yes, an interesting bounce back onto the track. Did anyone get collected up in that? No, I think he was. Yeah, he kept far enough to the left hand side. That's fine.
I think DeJong had some. I heard contact, but DeJong was like a meter away from him.
Yeah, both guys were. Because if either of them guys have like an out of shape moment as well, they're probably hitting them. So, and Ricardo's run slightly wide up the top of the hill as well. So, anything can happen once you got 2 wheels on Astro, I suppose. So, yeah, no, fair play to both of them guys for getting through.
Yeah. So that was Peter's incident. Next one is, we don't have to watch it, but actually I'll watch it just for the viewers. But Antoine Higelin, why did he retire from this event? I never heard the news.
So I never actually spoke to him about why he retired. I just assumed it was damage from the opening lap, and car would be slow in a straight line, using too much urge, using too much fuel. It just saw this stone dead last anyway. What he could possibly gain from this would be pretty minimal. He's not fighting for anything in the championship. He thought, well, just park it. That's my guess and understanding of it.
Yeah, because I saw him comment something in the YouTube chat when I watched the race afterwards. And this is all coming back to me, by the way, because we are recording this like a week after the race. But he said something like, I don't know, he hated this car. I don't know what he said, but he was like pretty frustrated. And he just like looks like he's about to pit, and then he's like, "Fuck this, I'm out." I don't know what's going on. And,
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah. Next incident is lap 19. So it's Krönke versus Partington. This is when Krönke is overtaking Partington for the lead.
Yes.
I think for the lead, actually.
Is this sort of coming off of the end of 18 as well?
Yeah, end of 18. So this is on the front straight going into 19. So this is...
Could we actually zip that back, the previous lap sort of coming into the bus stop? Because I think Martin really should be making the move there rather than into turn 1.
Oh, actually, even better, to one-up you, why don't you rewind all the way back to the exit of the Fania chicane?
Okay.
So, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
So, Martin here is doing all the right things, and you look at his line into Stavolo, perfect. Dirty air and a bad sort of entry to curb Paul Frere. Should he make the move now? Here's the question, into the inside of Blanchimont. He had the space, I'm pretty sure, but he doesn't go for it.
Knowing Martin's position with the championship and all that sort of stuff, plus how he tends to race anyway, he doesn't take too many risks. So I wouldn't expect him to, but I would expect him to be right up Partington's gearbox coming out of Blanchimont, which he isn't. He's kind of backed off a little bit. That means he can't make the move into the bus stop. I would still probably send it there anyway. Partington will move out of the way, but decides against it and then decides to make the move into turn 1, but by which point Mack is much closer to his rear.
Yeah. Mack Bakkum comes in, takes a good line. Oh, God. And then Krönke does the smart thing here and tucks into Partington's headspace, so Mack gets no slipstream. And then, does Mack have a shot here? I'm going to keep following this to Lecombe. Mack takes a great line. He's got DRS, but I think once you're this far back, I don't think the DRS does much, especially if you just go on the manual ERS deployment. If you're Krönke, you basically, I mean, that's your best defense. I even think in this car, ERS is more of a better defensive tactic than DRS itself.
It is, yeah, 100%. And if you notice as well that Mack starts to derate quite early on the straight, like he's not trying to make the move there. If he really wanted to, I think he could have sent it up the inside of Martin, but I think, considering their teammates, I don't think he would really do that.
No, that is true. I noticed that. And then Krönke tends to derate as well. I'm pretty sure they would have been speaking to each other. Maybe there was no overtake. I don't know. But or maybe they just thought, no, I don't think that he's going to get past me. So that could have been the case. So next one is lap 20. Marcus Jensen at Lecombe. So this is an interesting question I have for you, because we've been talking about a lot of things over the past few weeks, and the more I get to understand ERS, Jensen now is lap 20. Yeah, he's on lap 20 here. He's got DRS fully open. Look at the speed he gets up to with ERS. He'll get up to about 350 kilometers an hour. What I've noticed is my braking points, I need to adapt them depending on how fast I'm going. Do you notice that when you drive?
Yeah, 100%. It's exactly, even depending on how worn the tires are. Like late on a run, I'll have to pull my braking point back nearly as far as maybe 10 meters because the tires are that done. It just looks simply here that Marcus has missed the braking point he should have went for and hit the one that he probably hit for the previous 19 laps, and doesn't really come close to making the corner there.
Yeah, so if I watch this now, I didn't even play the incident through, but 350 kilometers an hour, brakes late, and yeah, I mean, he could even sustain damage. I'm going to check his front wing on this. I think it's okay.
I think he was okay, but he's also got Gregor right behind them as well, so he's probably feeling a little bit of pressure there. I've just actually watched it back just from Gregor's point of view. Gregor actually pokes the nose out just to take a wee look, and then Marcus misses his braking point, so I think Mr. 5-Time has sold Marcus there a wee bit.
Possibly. That's something I remember in the past, because all the cars I used to drive in the World Championship were never to focus on ERS. To me, it was either your braking points are, like you said, dependent on tire wear, and even then it was only like a 5-meter difference depending on how fresh the tires were. It's dependent on when the fuel breaks down over the race. So yeah, you just have to adapt your braking point based on your fuel level as well. And the other thing was whether you have DRS or not. And even with that, it wasn't that big of a difference. Could have been a 10 kilometer an hour difference. Now with this car, you have to consider all of that, but there could be one lap where you're like Marcus Jensen here going 350 kilometers an hour, and it could be another lap where you're still defending using ERS, but you could be going 342. And to me, it's so confusing and so challenging. And so the brake markers, they vary. I mean, do you have a specific brake marker when you practice and say, if I have DRS open, I'm braking at this point? Or do you just have to base it on feel?
I base it a lot on feel, because, like you said, there's so many different parameters that you have to take into consideration. That you will have your sort of stock braking point, and then you have to sort of know, okay, how much quicker am I going into this? What sort of other variables are there? So what's my fuel? What's my tires, etc. Is there someone looking to attack up the inside? Am I attacking up the inside? So yes, you can probably practice for all of those scenarios, but you'd have to do so many, probably practice races to cover all of them. So you kind of just have to do it off of feel. It's normally safe to pull it back, 10, 15 meters, and you should be fine. And if you need to then, release the brake if you're making a move and just force the car a little bit further alongside the guy ahead or whatever, then you can do that. It's easier to do that rather than try and jam on the brakes a little bit harder and then start locking up and probably spearing into someone or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, so next one, I've already loaded up yourself. Beginning lap 21, across the start-finish line. So I'm going to watch this from Martin's perspective. So these are the leaders getting past you. This is pretty entertaining. And also, I thought, why not throw a bit of Jamie Fluke action into this? So, are you on a... Did you one-stop this race or two-stop it?
Yeah, I one-stop this race. If I was two-stopping and in this position, then I probably wouldn't have finished P9 or whatever. But yeah, at this point, I knew that my tires were absolutely bust. I probably should have pitted a lap earlier, but I was like firmly fixed on my strategy on this one because I was one-stop it and really uncertain with how the tires were going. I thought it was going to be okay for this race, and it didn't really pan out that way, so I was suffering quite a bit. So when Martin makes the move up the inside at Lecom, it's like, okay, brake 10 meters earlier, let him glide through, and I'll hit an apex and tuck in nice and tight behind him. And then when Mack gets me into pull-on, I know he's going to make the move as soon as he pulls out, but I don't know, I just didn't want to completely give it to him. Like, it's like, if you're going to make the move on me, you've still got to overtake me. I'm not going to, like, pull out of the way for you. So, yeah, once I brake and turn in, like, I don't trust the car as soon as I start turning in, so I kind of have to run a little bit wide. But, yeah, not much I could really do there. I lost as little time as I felt I could, so, yeah, it is what it is.
And I like what Mack's doing here. Whenever I face, like, a driver in your situation who you haven't pitted yet, and Mack, what lap is this? 21. So Mack's tires are 14 laps fresher than yours. No, wait a second. 14 laps fresher than yours?
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, I probably pitted lap 14.
Yeah, okay. So he's pitted on lap 14, you haven't pitted yet. So what's happened here is, look at the line he takes into Ravage. Sort of breaks deep, cuts in. I don't know if he was actually trying to overtake or if he just didn't expect to be so quick. But then the entry into No Name, he takes more of an angle into the curb. He takes an aggressive angle into the corner. It's just, this is what you need to do when you have fresher tires, is just take wider lines, do the opposite to the driver in front, as long as it's beneficial for you. And then the run into pull-on was just incredible. You know, you understood at this point, like, Mack's going to send it deep here. You still challenged. Mack probably picks up an off-track as well. I hate how that's an off-track if you go off by like a millimeter there. But in the end, you have to say, good move, and you weren't really... I mean, you hardly lost any time from that, which is a benefit for you as well.
Yeah, it did suck. Like, obviously, I lost some time out of it, you know, being offline there, but I felt like I lost as little as I reasonably could. I couldn't fight too hard there, obviously, with the state of the tires. They were really, really bad at that point, so I was glad that I think I ended up pitting at the end of that lap.
Did you pit one lap too late, or do you think this was the right time?
Considering how bad my tires were at the end of the race, tough to say. If I was to go back and give it another try, I would probably just two-stop rather than one-stop, but as played, I would probably pit one lap earlier. Means then Kazuki like pulled a massive undercut on me whilst this was all happening. So like he went from 3 seconds behind me to like 3 seconds ahead, which is a bit crazy. And then I never really got totally onto the back of him after that. Well, I got close, but yeah, I probably should have pitted a lap earlier at least.
Can I say Kazuki Oomishima, who we watched his start before, had great pace. Wasn't he leading a few laps at one point? It was just... I don't know where that came from, but Oomishima had one of those Oomishima type races. So the next thing is David Williams' crash on lap 25. And again, it's at Eau Rouge. So I want to ask you, because this is pretty funny when you watch this. I mean, the crash isn't funny, of course, but the aftermath is. The snap is deadly. He gets impaled into the wall. Yep. And then, oh, Jesus Christ. I don't know who that is. Oh, it's Paul Ilbrink. I don't know if Paul Ilbrink makes contact with him, but this is hilarious when I was watching this through. I did not notice this until just today when I watched the video. I listed this incident just to watch David try to save it. But the Paul Ilbrink part is is funnier than I thought it was.
Yeah, truthfully, that's actually really bad on Dave because you can tell just by the speed Like, he hits the wall and then he just floors it straight into the wall. Like, he's like, no, screw this. I'm, left hand down, straight into the wall, and he just probably keeps his right foot down as well. So the car lands, and he's pointed back on the track, and, like, the momentum of, like, he hasn't hit the brake here, clearly, because the car then jolts forward from where he lands and almost wipes Elbrink out in the process. There's Elbrink and, like, one guy behind as well. Who was that? Dion Vergers. Yeah. That's not good from Dave. That's really poor.
Yeah.
Because he can, like, the normal protocol that you do there is, like, as soon as you hit the wall bad like that, you're done. Just put your foot on the brake, and as soon as then, if you land, you're probably not going to slide too far forward. It's pretty predictable. But if you, like, let the car roll like he has here, and he has let the car roll, I will happily call him out here. That makes it so hard to judge for the cars behind where your car is going to be once you get there. So the car's landed and it's just pointing across the track, and the car moves forward at like 20 odd kilometers an hour. That's really hard to, like, find a way through that. So fair play to Paul. Like, there is no gap there for him to go into, and he still just about finds it. I know he grazes the wall ever so slightly, and there's a little bit of neck out there, so he kind of, like, slightly goes through his front wing, but that is phenomenal for Paul just to, like, squeeze through that. I have mad respect for that.
Look, and when he saved it, he did the downshift that you were talking about. He's in 8th gear, and then watch how he, like, puts on the brakes, shifts down to 7 just to get that engine braking, and the car straightens up. And I thought it was a good save from Paul Elbrink.
That's a phenomenal save.
From the guy who doesn't give a shit. 13 incidents a race, 14 incidents a race. He leads the league this season. Leads the driver standings. Oh man, Paul Elbrink, congrats. So I was going to ask you anyway, what is the best way to crash? To me, it's just like you said, tap onto the brakes. But what happens if David's on the racing line and hits the brakes? Is that just a bad luck thing? Because the fundamental thing you should be doing when you crash is to obviously not let the car roll like Mark Webber Korea 2010 and do stupid things like that.
Yeah.
And is just hold on to the brake. And if you end up on the racing line, well, it's just bad luck. Or do you think you should try to avoid being on the racing line and let the car roll?
If you know that there's going to be cars coming through, you just got to hold whatever position you've got and make people go around. Like, if you crash wherever you land. As long as you, like, keep your foot on the brake and let the car try and come to a stop as quick as possible, then that's you doing your bit. It's then everyone else, it's on them to try and get around you, hopefully. But if you know that you've sort of crashed out and there's no one near you, and you can kind of tell, okay, I can just roll offline here and then escape out or whatever, then go for it that way. But in this case, especially at that point in the track, there is nowhere good to roll, because you can have people going side by side coming up off the top or whatever, and just hold the brake there, please.
So next one now, I've just flicked it up, is a Mack Bakkum, lap 30. He's exiting the pit lane. And this is an interesting one, because I think Mack realizes his mistake, and we'll show it now, but he realizes a bit too late. So watch this. He exits the pit lane. His teammate, that's Mitchell DeJong in front of him, who is a lap down. And behind Mack is Josh Rogers, trying to make a move here for important positions. Watch up the hill. I don't know if Mitchell slows here to allow Mack to have DRS, because where's the detection point? The detection point's actually at the exit of the pit lane. So if you think about it, if I go to cockpit cam, the green light on his cockpit only lights up. Okay, that's weird. Oh, no, there it goes. Yeah. Basically on the run down to Eau Rouge. And then if you watch carefully now on the Kemmel straight, Mack being passed by Josh Rogers, he doesn't engage DRS at all, even though the lights on his cockpit says he can.
Yeah, I think that's a case of Mack doesn't realize that he has DRS. He maybe thought like the detection zone was somewhere else. I don't know. It's just one of those mistakes where you've just come out of the pits, you've got like you've mentally reset yourself. You're going to get back into your, in this case, his final stint, his third stint. He's got guys ahead. He's got Josh behind. It's probably a little bit of information overload, just errors with slightly. You don't get like a beep in your ear like they do in actual F1, as far as I can tell.
I don't.
Once you go over the DRS board, it's literally just a light. So he's probably just looking, right, Mitchell's ahead, Josh is behind. He probably doesn't realise that Josh has DRS as well. And it's just one of those things where, yeah, he realises a little too late. Oh, I can activate. As soon as Josh gets by me, he activates DRS, which I find quite funny. But yeah, it's a little unfortunate for him.
You probably only realised there. So I just highlighted he's got 2 lights on, which means he has DRS and he's in the zone. And then 4 lights will go on now. And there you go, 4 green lights, which means all full circle. But it means, yeah, he has DRS engaged for those who don't drive this car. And if I go to the chase cam, there is DRS right there. So yeah, just an error. Yeah, it might have just not a lapse of concentration, just a lot going on. You know, that happens to everybody. So just an interesting one I found, because people thought DeJong was backing off when the DRS zone starts. But I'm like, no, the detection point is actually on the run down to Eau Rouge, and DeJong's flat out. So I don't really think DeJong intentionally helped his teammate here. But that's it. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that. Otherwise, we'll go to the next one.
Yeah, I just think DeJong realized, well, he's lapped traffic, and his teammates come out of the pits on fresh tires. Like, it makes no sense for him to, hold him up. So I think that's why he pulled aside. And Mack probably just got a little bit flustered with everything going on, literally just coming out of the pits. So that's just one of those things. It didn't affect him too much in the end, anyway.
Now, can we? So I went all the way down to the end of this lap 30 again.
Yeah.
You get involved in this, but a Jamie Fluke action here. So final chicane. Now, can I be honest with everybody? I actually haven't watched this for over a week, so I don't know who's at fault or who's not. This is the first time I'm seeing this.
Oh, I know who's at fault, but I refuse to admit it.
Oh, okay. So basically, it's not really your fault or anything. It's just you just had a sort of moment mistake on traction, and Mack just was a bit too close behind. This to me happens all the time. I don't think this is a penalized incident. That's something that should be penalized. And for some reason, always happens at this track, at this corner too.
Yeah. I can kind of explain what sort of happened here. So obviously, if you're coming through the chicane, you have a nice little, especially 30 laps into race, you have a rhythm of how you go through the chicane. That's fairly normal. Josh overtakes me on the inside. Again, I sort of had mentally prepared for that. Josh is on much fresher tires. He's quicker in the race than me anyway. So, happy to let him go and then tuck right in. I wasn't going to lose too much time here, personally, where I can help it. My intention was firmly to shut the door on Mack. I was not letting him through there at the same time. So I caught it really fine with Josh. But it leaves me just sort of out of my rhythm coming through the left-hander. So, I turn in. I think I take 2 stabs at turning in here a little bit. And yeah, I get my rear left wheel on the curb, or on the sausage curb, and that's what puts me into the slide initially. So I have to come off the throttle to gather it up. I have it pretty much gathered, and then obviously because I've checked up when I really shouldn't be checking up, Max just tipped me around, I guess, and yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm not even slightly mad at Mac for it at all. We discussed it a little bit after the race. It's yeah, I caught the curb and got unsettled, and yeah, he didn't know where to go, so it is what it is. Just a bit unfortunate, really.
Yeah, and as I said, to me, it's in real life, these are much easier to avoid, and I think it's because of the field of view. When you in games or when you're in a simulator, it's so much more harder to react and see and obviously, of course, most drivers don't drive with this bullshit. I've got to disable this setting next time I do a video, which is the hands showing the arms in the steering wheel. I can't even see the track right now, but most drivers don't drive with this. They basically drive with a static steering wheel. And yeah, I mean, that's just almost impossible for Mack to avoid. As I said, to me, this is just racing incident, move on. I mean, there's no one's at fault, really. I mean, you just made a mistake, and Mack was a bit too close. So, but I just found it interesting because this isn't the only car, and it's not the only time it's happened at this track. So it's happened to a lot of other drivers. But next one, more Mack Bakkum action. Lap 36 going into Les Combes. So he's trying to get past Josh Rogers. I'm now at the exit of La Source. Have you seen this one yet?
Yeah, I've seen everything I think that we're going to cover.
The thing I want to ask is, I mean, what line do you prefer into, not La Source, sorry, into Les Combes? Would you prefer the outside line, or do you do you think the momentum, regardless whether you're on the inside or outside, is more important at Les Combes?
I think the momentum is more important because the left and right come so quickly, and they're such equal corners where you can go side by side. Ideally, I'd like to be on the inside and being able to sort of maybe throw a little bit of a block pass on the inside. But if I can't do that, I can go around the outside, and if I can still carry the momentum through, I can throw the block on the left, which is what Mack does here. He doesn't really throw a block as such. I mean, he's racing Josh with, you know, whatever ping that he has being on an Australian connection, so we don't want to play with fire too much here. But under normal circumstances with Mack here, he's got the momentum on the outside. He's got, you know, the high ground. He's further ahead. I'd like to see him just send it a little further, just so that Josh can't hang it around the outside again to have the inside for the last right. And then we'll still have the inside for Ravage. So that would totally cut that off. But, you know, as it turns out, you know, he didn't need to do that, so that's absolutely fine. It's a very good move at the end of the day.
Yeah, like I remember I spoke in the Indianapolis video how you always want the inside line into turn 1, because then that leads to the inside line to turn 3, and eventually you form up. But I feel like at a corner like Les Combes over here, it doesn't matter if you're on the inside over here or the outside line. If you've got the momentum, like I just showed with Mack there, see, Josh is going 334 kilometers an hour right now. He's derating. And if I go to Mack, 349, like, it doesn't matter where you are. You know, you can stick it up the inside or around the outside here, and no matter what happens, you're going to have a good line into this next right-hander right here, and you'll eventually get the position. You know, it's just, there's only so many corners where you can form up. You know, it's like at Spa, you could basically go too wide until, you know, all the way down to Fania, but that's not going to happen. So eventually, by the time you get to Ravage, as I said, it's just dependent on the momentum. So that to me is important. So then, if we go to lap 38, and here's another similar one, Gregor Huttu and what's his name? And Josh Rogers again. So again, Rogers is passed. And I want to ask you, so why is Rogers losing out? I know his tires are shot. Is it just that?
I'm just looking at Gregor's speed here. He hits 354, 355.
Yeah.
Like, Gregor's car in a straight line is phenomenal. Like, I think we're all, at least the top guys, we're all low downforce trim, but Gregor can get it trimmed out just a little bit more and still they'll get the lap time out of it. So I think Josh is a complete sitting duck here. Even when Gregor overtook me at the start of the race, I gave it literally everything I had, and he just breezed by me. So, and that's with DRS, and I'm sure he's deploying everything that he has. So I don't think Josh can really do too much there. He hold the inside line, I suppose, and you know, if you can make, well, I'd like to hold the inside line here when defending. It just at least make the other guy go around you, rather than literally giving the inside and the opportunity to then block past you instantly. So at least make him work that one extra corner for it if he's going to inevitably do it. But yeah, Josh can do nothing there as far as I can tell. So again, good move from Gregor. Even with all the extra speed that he's carrying there, he gets things stopped well, doesn't lock a brake or anything like that. Yeah, all round good driving there. Josh as well, like he still tries to fight it pretty hard, but gives enough space on the outside given his connection and the fact that we're racing online. Yeah, good driving all round there.
Yeah, I like that. And if you flick to Pashalis Gergis, who's at the exact same time about to size up Oomishima for a ripper pass. Again, so what I mean by this, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jamie, if you can explain it with more articulation. You're a smart dude. So when we say more momentum, I mean, of course, there are corners out there where if you have the momentum like we're talking about here, like a 15-kilometer-an-hour difference, you can still defend the inside line, for example, and get away with it. Whereas I feel like at Les Combes, you're almost a sitting duck. Like you just cannot defend for the life of you if a guy's got that momentum going into the corner. That's my opinion on it. There's probably a way. I'm too shit to figure it out. But if I watch Gergis here, he gets up to 356. He goes on the inside line this time. And you see the momentum he's got? The inside line works. So to me, it's again, whoever's just carrying the speed is eventually going to have the confidence going into the corner.
Yeah, agreed. But as well, you've got to get far enough alongside, like under braking, or as soon as Pash hits the brakes. I'm just going to slow this personally here until I can. So he's pretty much right alongside. Plus, he's got the momentum going for him when he does hit the brakes. Plus, he's on better tires than Kazuki, so it makes it an easier move for him. But it also sort of demonstrates that, you know, if you're going to be a sitting duck in a scenario, it literally doesn't matter where you position your car. Like Pash in this case demonstrates very expertly, I shall say, the move on the inside. Like he's carried the speed through, and you know, hits his apex fine, and he sort of runs a little bit deep as well. This totally stops Kazuki even thinking about like sending it or like holding it around the outside there to like make it at least a lot harder for Pash to make the move. Like he completely cuts that off by utilizing the full width of the track there. But if they were to go like completely side by side there through the right and then into the left, Kazuki could very easily just jam it a little bit up the inside, and then it just becomes a far harder move for Pash to finish off. So he's made the move, he's finished it off, no issues, on he goes.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. So I can't even speak English. That was well explained. So final thing we'll look at then for today. Let's start from... I want to watch Gregor Huttu from the start of lap 42 to the end of the race. So we'll try and play this at the same time. The thing I notice here is Gregor... And the reason why we're watching these last 3 laps before we click it is... let me know when you're on lap 41 / about to start 42.
Okay, go from now.
Alright, from now, do you already click?
Oh, no, yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm here now, yeah.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, play. So, already, I just think Gregor here knew, number 1, he needed to get past Mack instantly to have a shot at the win. Number 2, Gregor knew he had a shot to win. But number 3, why is Gregor, especially at this track, why was it so noticeable that he was quick at the end of each stint? Did he just save the tires better? Was it something to do with the caster and the setup? Like, I don't know. Obviously, you wouldn't mention if it was a setup thing, but he's definitely figured out something that makes him quicker through the ends of the stints.
So part of it is he doesn't qualify that well, so he's down through the pack usually. So he doesn't really show in his first stint pace, you know, how quick he probably is. Then what happens is everyone tries to undercut each other, so he goes the complete opposite way and overcuts everyone. He gets himself out into a nice bit of clean air, and then he just goes hammer time basically from there. He's on slightly fresher tires pretty much for 2/3 of the race compared to everyone else, and around here that's worth an awful lot. So that's probably a good part of it. His general pace is always pretty good in race trim. It's very rare where like he kind of struggles. I don't even think it's anything specific on the setup. We actually can't change the caster on this car, so we can rule that out. If I was to take a guess, I'd say he probably runs slightly higher tire pressures than maybe some of those around him.
That's true.
Because he is really good at the end of a stint.
And tire pressures, we discussed this. I learned that the hard way. Make a huge difference to your lap times across the whole stint.
Yeah. So he probably sacrifices a little bit at the start to be good at the end. Plus the fact he's got the 1 or 2 lap fresher tires. And yeah, it just allows him to be that menacing figure at the end of each stint. It is terrifying a little bit when you know he's on better tires, he is as quick as he is. He's won 5 world championships. He's probably one of, if not the best of all time, and he's coming to get you, and there's not much you can do about it. And it's like, ugh, I don't like the position that I'm in. I would love to be in his position every once in a while, just hunting someone down. It's like, I'm coming to get you, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
But just, I mean, look at this. Look at his line into now Lecombe.
Yeah, I don't like it, truthfully.
And the whole lap before, I mean, for those who may have missed it, I mean, rewind. We're not going to rewind here, but to me, it's, you might think he's driving a good lap, but for Gregor's standards, his lines are all over the place. You know, into No Name doesn't use enough curve on the right-hand side, takes a tighter turn in, already losing time on the run down to Pouon. I look at his line going to Pouon. Mack takes an aggressive curve. Not all drivers do that, but there's something inconsistent about him in these last few laps, which is why I wanted to watch him. And I feel like maybe he's pushing a little bit too hard. Maybe he knew the time was running out to make a pass. It could have been dirty air, right, Jamie? Because look at this now. Going to Stavolo, gets the curve all wrong, and look, he just misses the apex of the corner. Like, it's mistakes like that where I'm like, yeah, dirty air's a factor, but this is Gregor. He's really pushing right now, and I think he's overdoing it, trying to push a bit too hard.
Probably just a little bit. I do notice sometimes though with Gregor that he doesn't always hit his apexes flush. He just carries the speed through, and his car must turn really, really well. Like, coming into the chicane here, that's that's not good.
Definitely, that's definitely a mistake. Yeah,
that really doesn't help. If he gets that nice and clean, he's probably right on the back of Mack.
Oh, look at turn one.
There's an apex somewhere there, but he didn't get anywhere near it.
No, he carried speed, like you said. He's still quick, right?
But no, that's far too wide. So he's missed the run completely. He's probably lost the dirty air, so he probably gets a nice run up through the hill, but he's too far back to make a move.
Sorry to cut you off. How he didn't crash at Eau Rouge or at the top of Eau Rouge was, I don't know, that was pretty risky, that line, I thought.
Especially in the last lap of the race. Gotta go for it, I guess. But even through the column there, that's like he's not driving with much fluidity. It's probably the way I would describe it. He's not like, you know, from brake to throttle, nice transitions, even with steering. It felt a little bit like he's probably trying a bit too hard. But even still, like, he's so much quicker at this point than the two cars ahead. He's just zipped right up to the back of Mack, just pushing through the dirty air. So the car is absolutely on point for him right now, but I feel like he could have driven it a little bit better. Like, he's driving so deep there. He doesn't need to do that. Like, he's not going to make the move there. Yes, I guess he's probably trying to throw Mack off, but he's like, and again, missed apex, runs wide, kills all the momentum.
That's it.
And
he's done.
Yeah, that's it.
He's done.
He's messed it up as far as I'm concerned. And then we get up to the contentious bit, where Martin hands the win over. Doesn't run out of fuel. I heard people say, "Oh, he's run out of fuel." No, he doesn't run out of fuel.
No, he didn't. Yeah, you're
not
right.
even a little bit. He gives the win to Mack, and before I heard about the talk of DDoSing, I thought, you know, that's shameful, just manipulating the end of the race there. But if that's what was relayed to Martin, and Martin wanted to do that to try and make sure that Mitchell at least had a shot coming into the last round, okay, fair enough. But I'm not a fan of really any of that sort of carry on where you're letting teammates buy to win races and that sort of thing. It's okay if it's like middle of a stint and your teammate's much quicker than you and you're like, right, go ahead, go on up the road and try and catch some guys, but this is for the race win. It's a totally different ball game. So I'm not really a fan of this, but if it's like a fairness thing to try and keep the championship alive for the last round, just because Mitchell has apparently, I say apparently because we don't know for certain, but if he has got DDoS, then okay, fair enough. That's probably a nice thing for Martin to do. But again, this opens the door for Gregor to do what he does. And okay, yes, it's a bit clumsy from Gregor, but in his position, he probably says, "Oh, these guys are manipulating the end of the race," and Mack and Gregor are, you know, battling for P3 in the champs. He's like, no, this is not happening. I'm making this move and tough crack. If I have to put Martin out of the race for second place here, then I'll do it. So I can't really fault him for the effort on this one. There's a bit of netcode on like the initial bit of contact in the
final chicane. Can I add something quickly? Is that I don't know if Mitchell knew during the race he was DDoS. It may have. I can't confirm this. Could have been during the race. Could have been the next day. So this is something. I mean, I spoke to Mitchell after the Rallycross race about this. So this is like 5-6 days after the actual incident happened, obviously, in this event. But anyway, back to the Huttu crash. Well, not Huttu crash, sorry, the Huttu pass. There was a slight moment of netcode where Krönke gets a tap. Definitely loses some momentum with that. But to me, people are saying this is dirty by Gregor. Wait a second. Gregor's like, you know, fuck you guys, the Coanda drivers. I'm going straight through. You guys are doing this shifty shit. I should have been winning this race. I mean, this is an easily could have been a Gregor Huttu win had he not mucked up these final few laps.
Yeah.
So I think it's a great, you know what? I think it's a good move. I don't mind it. Robin's racing.
99% of the time, I would be like not happy at Gregor for that move. But considering the fact that Martin's handed the win over to Gregor's championship rival at this point, because he's out of the top 2 hunts, so it's a battle for third between him and Mack. He's just handed it over to Mack. It's like, oh no, that's bad, carry on. So yeah, I can totally understand the move. But it's like that 1 in 1,000 thing where I could accept this. Anything else is like, that's pretty dirty from Gregor. But I would highly doubt that Martin would protest that, considering what he'd just done 5 seconds before. So all's fair in love and war, I suppose.
So all I'm going to say is this, and I agree with you. I don't think Martin ran out of fuel. There are 2 things I can think. One of them actually was, and this isn't the 2 things I was thinking of, but one of them is what you mentioned. It could have been the DDoS thing, where you're like, what'd you say again? You said that, Martin would have found out that Mitchell was DDoS, and you didn't think that was fair.
Yeah, that's a big if, though.
That's a big if, so we don't know that yet at time of recording. Then the second one is Martin felt it was unfair, didn't know about the DDoS. No, sorry, let's ignore that. Let's say Martin just wanted to let Mack win, thought Mack had the pace, and Martin wanted the championship to go down because, again, was unfair because Mitchell DNF'd, but didn't mean to let Gregor through. So
he doesn't mean to let Gregor through.
Exactly.
That's clear.
So then, that's where I'm thinking. The second thing is, did they fake the fuel issue thing because Gregor got past? Do you think they would have said he ran out of fuel if Mack won but Martin finished second? Or do you think it was pretty embarrassing and they had to sort of cover it up and say, oh, Martin ran out of fuel, so that's why Gregor got past?
Who said that Martin ran out of fuel?
I'm just curious about that. I'm pretty sure someone from the Coanda team after the race.
Interesting.
Maybe Mack.
Possibly. There is I'd say a 0% chance Martin runs out of fuel here.
He stabs the throttle in the final chicane. Like, he's definitely got fuel there.
Yeah, he's got fuel. Like, the run to the line, like, he gives it full beans, and he's got all the fuel that he needs to get over the line there. He has enough fuel in the car. That's good. He doesn't stutter at any point there. Not even a little bit. So if that's an excuse to let Mack win, that's pretty poor. I wouldn't be a big fan of that. If they just said, yeah, no, we tried to help Mack out a bit in the championship here, and just admitted it, that's fine. I mean, it's a little cheap, but this is it's not really a team sport. This, it definitely is. I mean, we all work, in our respective teams, and we all try and do the best for each other. But even in that position, I'm not giving up a win for anyone. I couldn't do that. Maybe that's a bit different for Martin because he's won 20 odd races or whatever it is in his World Championship career, so he can let one slide here and there. But I mean, if it was me and I had like Pete behind me and Pete needed it for like an extra position in the championship, I don't think I could do it. Not for a race win. For P2 maybe, but not for a race win.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I couldn't. If I did that once, I would never race again.
I
couldn't do it.
I echo your sentiment. I don't care if I got 50 odd wins or 60 odd wins, whatever Greg is up to now. I just don't know if I could give up a win like that, unless, of course, it would help my teammate or a friend of mine win the championship. Then I'd gladly do it, obviously. But to me, if you got 60 wins in your career, well, you're probably going for the championships. So
yeah.
This is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen in my life in motorsports or Formula One. I've seen some weird shit go on, like Pastor Maldonado at this racetrack deliberately steer into Lewis Hamilton. I think it was like 2012. What the fuck was going on with that? I don't know what was going on with Pastor Maldonado then. I've seen some weird stuff.
Is that Valencia by any chance?
Say it again?
Is that Valencia by any chance? I remember that race.
No, that was this track. That was in qualifying.
Oh, was it? Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah. No, I remember now. Yeah,
it was like coming out of La Source, and like I think Maldonado thought like, I don't know. It was like the Baku incident with Vettel. I think they like steer into them, not intending to hit them, and then they accidentally steer in a bit too much, and then they hit them and make contact, and then they look like an idiot. But anyway, point is, I've seen some weird stuff, and I haven't seen a bizarre ending to a race like this. It's up there. I don't know if it's the most bizarre ending to a race ever, esports / real life, but it's definitely up there. Like like I said. Anything else to say on that? Otherwise, we'll wrap up.
The only thing somewhat similar was, I think this was a couple of years ago, at Spa as well. Pakala was like 20 seconds up the road from Gregor. Gregor was fighting for the championship, and Pakala like slowed to crawl to let Gregor through. And it's like, come on, man, it's a 20-second gap. Yeah, I can see what you're doing, but like, I couldn't win a championship that way. Morally, I couldn't do it. If a teammate had dropped 20 seconds back to let me through to win a championship or whatever, it just feels wrong to me. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I have to say though, Jamie, I'm hoping that sometime in the future you do have to face decisions like that, so you guys will improve and hopefully challenge for the championship. If that makes sense. That's a compliment, by the way. It sounded like an absolute insult. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
So, anything to plug before we go?
Just the usual stuff. Just like to thank the team for putting me in a position where I can drive in the World Championship, and therefore being in a position where I can be on this podcast. So, thanks to them, all of our sponsors, so JCL, Leo Bodner, it's SDK Gaming, and computers. So I have to think about that. Social media, mostly found on Twitter at Jamie Fluke, on Instagram as well, Jamie.Fluke. Also on Facebook, and if anyone ever sees me about Belfast, whatever, sure, say hi to me.
Yeah, there you go, Jamie Fluke, one of the up-and-comers, future world champion of the iRacing world, possibly. I can't be bothered saying the series name, man. I'm that tired. It's that late at night right now. I do have to plug the podcast, though. You can catch this episode of the Simon Racing Report at thesimonracingreport.com. And all the links to the YouTube channel, iTunes, Stitcher, the RSS feed. It's all there on the homepage. Like the podcast page on Facebook. The link is there too. Same with my Twitter handle at JohnnyS8, JONNYESS8. Click the Twitter button. Follow me on Twitter, of course. I'll tag Jamie, of course, when we release this as well, so you can easily follow him. But most of all, like any podcast or this video if you liked it as well. Share it if you enjoyed it. We've had a lot of great shares. I really appreciate it from all the fans out there. Our subscriber count, we're up to 500 plus. Incredible. That's all up to you guys. You know, I've asked for the shares, and there's been a lot of positive feedback I get, and I said there wasn't much sharing going on, and because of that, now we've definitely grown. So it's just helping me produce greater content, and most of all, subscribe to add to that subscriber list as well. If you're enjoying these videos. And talking about producing exponentially greater content, if you want to donate to the Simon Racing Report, please feel free to do so. There's a link on the homepage as well. And of course, any contribution you make is always seriously appreciated. Don't forget to follow Team Mad as well. They are at Mad Sim Racing on Twitter. That's their Twitter handle. Thanks to them for all their support as well for the podcast. But hope you enjoyed this. Another sim racing analysis video. One race to go. The Circuit of the Americas coming up this weekend. So stay tuned for that. We'll get another video out for that race as well. And stay tuned. Hope you enjoyed. See you.